I had Christmas Day here last year, which was unusual for me to come and have Christmas at a restaurant at a retirement village. Yeah, that's the main impact of it, trying to include the community and make it a healthy place to live. The directors of Living Choice really tried to pack in as much as they could on what is a relatively small site. So you've got hydrotherapy pools and cinemas and a bowling green and the cafe and the restaurant. Quite often I'll come in and see that there's 5 or 6 kids camped in the cinema watching Sesame Street or Peppa Pig or whatever is the current go. So they can watch TV in that cinema. But then also seeing outside businesses using the lecture theatre, and there's a company today using the auditorium, 120-seater auditorium. That just adds some vibrancy to the ground floor and makes the residents feel like what a great place to be. We had to be very careful of the interests of our neighbours, and we've really tapered the building down towards those neighbours, so it really presents as a 3-storey building, particularly to the west. That's the majority of our residential neighbours, and then it ramps up to a 6-storey building towards the east, where we front the 10-storey hospital, so obviously not the same height impact there. That was the major driver for the way the building works. The other thing was all of north-facing glass. One of the directors was very adamant that he wanted as much light coming through as possible. So we've set the distance of the 2 main residential towers up so that every apartment facing north gets sunlight. Even in the middle of winter, the ground floor apartments will get sunlight and not get shaded by the front building. Apartment living's not something that people in South Australia are used to. So we had to come up with a scheme that gave a lot of light and a lot of air to those apartments, and the windows was a massive part of that. So taking the windows up above ceiling line to try and take the view out of the building out to the open spaces. We were fairly rigid in what we wanted to do with the windows. We wanted to keep the same theming going through all the different apartment styles. We want it to appear very similar. You can't pick out a penthouse apartment from a smaller 2-bedroom or 1-bedroom apartment. They're all very similar. Yeah, one of the issues of the large screens, the large stacking sliding doors that we've got, you also need a large screen to pair with that, a large stacking window screen to pair with that. Once you get up to the 6th storey, you've got the high winds that can actually bend a screen out of shape, and the screen takes on a bit of a sail effect, and they can be ripped off the building by the high winds. We actually ended up putting all of the screens inside the building. With the stacking sliding door, you've got a fairly wide track as well, and then with the screens you're going to add to that track, so you end up with a very wide, very, very wide track. It's over 200 millimetres wide. That's just going to be the case no matter what window manufacturer you head to, but having that very flat, flush sill was very important. So it's not a massive trip hazard. You know, there's a 20mm step up and there's a flush plate, a tread that you can step on that's got that feeling of solidity. You haven't got these little fins that bend when you step on it. Because of the height of those windows, 2.8 metres high, you go into a fairly thick glass. You really need those runners to operate properly for an aged resident to push those doors open. You need a quality suite to do that. A residential suite is just not going to cut the mustard, and a lot of commercial suites, they're not built with that sort of finesse that probably the AWS suite does have in its roller mechanisms. The stainless steel door hardware is very nice suites and fitted in with what we want to do in the village. So easy selection. I love easy selections. Some of the residents had an optional extra. They put in double glazing. Those double glazing suites are very similar to the standard suite that goes throughout the rest of the village. So nobody can pick up that that's a double glazed window as opposed to a single glazed window. So that was very important as well. The mix and match nature of what sashes you can put in different frames. That's really what drove the AWS decision. It's all about quality. Value for money, of course, but trying to impress on people the quality of what they can move into. Through the 5-year process, I've got to know, I would count myself as friends with a number of the residents. They come up and tap me on the shoulder, so I know them quite well. They're always very proud to tell me, what aspect of their apartment works, how they've found some new aspect that makes their life better.